Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be showing you how I would take a sketch of a trailer cue and start to flesh it out so that you can start to fill out the sound more, and you then start to create the landscape that you really want the listener to hear, rather than you obviously just playing the piano, which this track is. So what we're going to do is we're going to just have a quick sort of talk through what this was based around, and how I sketched out this little sketch, and then I'll just start to flesh it out and talk you through what my thought process is as I'm doing it. Okay, so this sketch started as a simple descending bass line: D, C, B flat, and then returning up to C, D, C, B flat, C. Very simple, very common chord progression in kind of like, in trailer music, but especially if you want to have like a dramatic feel to it. So you're going from your minor root chord, which in this case is D minor. You're then going to the flattened 7th degree, which would be C major, flattened 6th degree, which would be, in this case, B flat major, and then going back up to C major. I'm on the drums. So you got your D minor to your C, to your B flat, to your C. It's a very, very versatile chord sequence. I use it all the time, particularly in my piano works writing. And I've just literally kept like an ostinato that kind of hints at the chords that you're hearing. And doesn't really give too much away. I'm not going to play the whole sketch because it's literally just the piano and some hits. Because some of you may know I like to sketch out tracks using hits sometimes too. So here we go. Let's have a listen. This is my little idea. The working title is Penance. Okay, so in here I start to progress the velocity of the sequence, and the melody doesn't get very, if at all, complicated. I think I have a chord change right at the end here. So I go from D minor to C to the 4th degree G, then to the flattened 6th, and then. So I'm just changing it up a little bit in this would be my final third. But you can hear, with the hits, I'm kind of hinting at something bigger than just the piano, and obviously I've got the little Soundtoys little plate going on here just to give me a little bit of reverb. Plates are fantastic for giving you uncolored reverb, which is really useful. So. What am I going to do with this? How am I going to flesh this out? Am I going to turn this into, a slow burn epic? Am I going to turn this into a fast-paced action cue? Am I going to keep it a piano and just develop it as a piano cue? I could literally take this and kind of make a 10-track album out of the ideas in this cue. But what I want to do is I want to make this into a slow burn cue. And by that I mean, long, slow chords, that just breathe and swell like the sea. Very uncomplicated melodies that give room for the visuals to take over. You see these kind of slow burn stuff a lot. I'm not going to finish the whole track in this video. I'm just going to show you how I would, approach fleshing it out to at least help the creative process along. So I have my piano and I have my percussion. I'm just going to put these guys into a track stack and sum them together Let's do that again. Let's make sure I've actually selected all of them. Just to kind of tidy it up a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. These are going to be my booms and stuff. There we go. Okay, so now I've got my piano sketch and my hits. So my first thought is, okay, this is a slow burn. When I think of slow burn, I think of space. You know, I think of huge, vast expanses, and I think of twinkling stars. So I want to get those twinkling stars in first. And what I mean by that is like a very, very distant hint of movement that also hints at the true scale of this piece. So for this, I'm going to do one of my favourite tricks, which is to load up a marimba. Where are you? You're going to be in keyboards, knowing me. Yep, Spitfire marimba. Okay. Obviously, when you hear this, you know it's like if you're thinking, ooh, nebulas. You know, you're going to be thinking, okay. Well, I start thinking about advertising. Do you have a sore throat? Anyway, so there we go. There's my first thing. I'm just hinting at the scale here. And what I want to do is I'm going to put some delay on here to kind of mix it up so that it's not so straight, not so clean, not so clear. I want a nice long, let's go for nice, a little bit more in the mix. A little bit more. So it starts to kind of create this nice shimmer. And I'm going to put in a long reverb. Large spaces, outdoor spaces. Now I'm going to use mountain echoes because you can see obviously this is going to kind of create another delay effect, which is exactly what I want. Right, I'm going to go to the output EQ and I'm just going to put a low pass on there. So I hear more of the higher details. And where am I? I'm in D minor, aren't I? Okay, so let's just hear what I'm playing without the effects. So I'm going. Din, 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 din. Kind of reminds me of that classical piece of music that they use in Home Alone. Okay, so I'm just going to play that in. Okay, cool. That's all I'm going to do. Remember, I'm using these ideas to start fleshing out the cue without getting too precious. So I'll try one more thing. Okay, so let's go to the space designer. Let's take out the dry. Okay, I'm not sure how much adding the third in so early is such a good idea. Generally what I think is a good idea is to think about the tonality of the chords, and if you imply the tonality straight away, i.e. whether it's a major or minor, sometimes it colours the track too early on. And, you know, sometimes with an intro you want it to keep it ambiguous so that it could potentially be used across different genres. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to add one more effect because I want to add a bit more movement in there. Don't worry, this isn't going to be the only thing I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I just watched a video of Rich just playing around with marimba for half an hour. There we go. Fair, keep it subtle. Okay, and I'm going to do one of my favourite things. Loop it. Yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff. Okay, so I eventually want to take the piano out. The intro, I want to have everything else just bubbling and brewing. Okay, how am I going to flesh this out? Well, there's a couple of things I could do. And I'm going to go into my user patches, and you can see I've got a couple of track stacks pre-saved, which are a really simple and helpful way to increase your workflow, improve your workflow, so that you can just load these up straight away, and you've got all of a sudden, if I click on trailer strings legato stack, then it will load up all of the instruments I want, so that sometimes working with a template can feel a little bit constrictive. Sometimes it's nice to not have that, and in this case, that's exactly what I've got. I've got my first violins, second violins, violas, cellos. Although it says VC legato, that needs to be changed. Double bass, leg. Okay, and obviously instrument 28. So when you do save these things, make sure you're saving it when it's labelled. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to add in another one of these little user patches, which is they're basically groups of instruments that I've already pre-saved. So my trailer brass stack. Okay. I'm going to bring these guys in, and I'm just going to start to introduce that chord sequence using some of these instruments. Let's wait for these to load. So my vision here is that the intro, which isn't as clearly cut as I would normally like it to be, it's kind of like Act 1 and Act 2 are kind of joined together in this big blob here. And I want Act 1 and Act 2 to be kind of like quietly stating the chords and gradually building and bubbling. So what have we got in this one? We've got metros, we've got east-west. Okay. And what we are missing in this stack, this is the lovely thing about the stacks, is a Spitfire brass, which is very nice for choral writing, which is like soft pad writing, basically, for brass. So where am I? Albion brass mid longs. I'm just going to chuck them in there. Well, that's loud. Yeah, really soft, subtle sound, which I really like. Kind of reminds me of a John Williams score. Okay, so we're going to just zoom out, and I'm going to state those chords in this patch here. Okay, here we go, let's go. Okay, cool. Let's have a listen to see what I've done. Have a look, sorry. I just quantized it to 16th, which was a mistake. 8th. Okay, let's look at the mod wheel, the stuff I was doing with my other hand. One trick I like to do is I like to have my brass swelling into a chord change. Like so. So it kind of swells into that, and then it swells back down for the next one. Okay, so if I simplify it, that's kind of what it looks like. And you can do an automation curve so that it kind of swells in, that one swells out a bit slower. Or you can do it so it swells in a little bit quickly and swells out a little bit quickly. The nice thing about having it when it's like this, it's very, very clean, which I quite like the look of. And, those of you who've watched my tutorials before, you'll know that I quite often will draw my modulation in. And that's probably because my mod wheel is a bit broken, although it hasn't done it here. It's when you get up into the 70s, 80s, it starts to kind of suddenly go a bit bonkers and make everything look weird. I.e., it suddenly leaps. I should explain that. It leaps from like 80 to 127, or it just jumps about. So actually, it's really good for weird effects, but in this instance, it's not what I want. Right, now I'm going to think about this as if a player was playing this, right? It's not always the way I write, but actually it's quite useful with these things. So I would probably want the player to play these two legato. So I've just done something called forced legato. So it means the notes are forced into legato. But then the second note I would probably want to cut short a little bit. And that's the same with that second note, and this second note, and this second note. So that's when they would take their breath, essentially. Only a tiny detail. And I don't always do that, but it's quite a nice one to put in if you want to go for a realistic blast. Realistic brass. And here we'll cut off. Right, I just want to check something. Yeah, I was just checking that was the right range for the instrument. Love those damage hits, so nice. Okay, cool. It's just getting the ideas in, and I'm going to copy and paste that, and I'm going to select all of the automation. Automation select tool, select you all. I'm just going to move everything up a little bit, like that, and go 55, because I want the swells to start getting a little bit more. So if I look at it as a whole, when it goes into this essentially Act 2, the swells become more obvious. Probably could go more than that, actually. So there, I'm just essentially taking this single note idea and using the mod wheel and the modulation curves to kind of create a more realistic picture. And then you can simply just say, hey, okay, I'll take these down and put these down into this low brass here. Drop them down an octave. Hopefully it doesn't sound like someone's farting right off the bat. It's not enjoying that, is it? There we go, that's better. So that's the interesting thing about jumping from different libraries to different libraries. The modulation has an effect is different because of what they set as the lowest modulation. Some brass libraries have basically zero, meaning no sound at all. Some have zero, meaning like pianissimo. So I'm going to move that and try the metro tubas. It's going to be the same thing. Similar thing. Let's try the metro horns. Maybe it's just an instrumental difference with the tubas. Let's try the bass bones, see what they sound like. Yeah, I'm not going to throw these in anyway. They're too raspy. Let's stay with the horns. And in fact, I'm going to glue those together, and I'm going to duplicate those across that horn there. And I'm going to duplicate my Albion brass because I know that library does the thing I want them to do. So the Albion brass low long. So I was aware that's a doubled tuba and trombone. Yeah, might be a bit heavy-handed, but we'll see, won't we? See. Nice. Let's check it in this. See, that's where I think the Albion brass is beautiful. Just this kind of like lovely kind of like texture of the brass that you get without it being like full on trailer horns. It's just lovely chorale writing. Okay, so anyway, let's flesh this out a little bit more because I want to feel like this is going somewhere now. We're going to open up. I should just label these quickly. Open up my string longs stack, V2, VA, VC. That's violin 2, viola, and violin cello, for those of you who weren't sure what I was doing. Yay! Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that bass line there and I'm going to copy it down into my double bass. Again, I'm just padding this out. Okay, it's alright, it's a bit too high. Okay, now I want to explore the lowest range, but I won't do that just yet. I'll use the low range for later on in the cue. There we go. Right, let's take this up to the violas. Oh, I didn't notice I did that. Let me just correct that. There we go. That was the double basses. Let's take this up to violas. Let's hear what it sounds like when it's on low velocity, low modulation. Okay, nice. Now the thing I like about violas when they're in their lower registers, they just have a really nice texture. And I often like to use the violas for the third degree of the chord, which in this case would be F for D minor, E for C, D for B flat, E. So we'll listen to it like this. See, just a really nice subtle thing. Sweet. Okay, let's do that again because I like that. It feels immediately heroic, which is, kind of, I was going to say my jam, but yeah, it sounds a bit arrogant, doesn't it? That's not what I was talking about. Okay, now I just want to try one thing. I want to see what happens if I go from F, E, D, which would be the third degree for B flat major, and then drop that down to a C, which would be the seventh degree of the D minor 7. Oh wait, my mistake. It was a C there, isn't it? It's not a D. So I'm actually just returning to the root note, which, yeah, I'll keep it like that actually. Okay, and that's the wonderful thing about doing these tutorials is when you make a mistake, isn't it? There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to transfer this to fifths. So I'm going to go, yeah, and I'm going to use this to go up to the fifth for B flat, which is F. And then I'm going to go up to the G for which is the fifth of C. And then I'm in my movements of fifths, because then probably the violin, the seconds will take over. So I'm just going to do that quickly now. The seconds aren't going to do anything to start with. The seconds are going to come in playing thirds. So that's below the register of the seconds. So let's show. There we go. Right, now I just want to do one more thing. I'm going to double up the double basses in the cellos. So now I've got the full string section working it. Cellos and violas are going to be playing in thirds, so they'll be moving up and down in thirds, and underneath an octave lower we've got the strings, and then we start to pad out the chords. So yeah, I did say earlier on that I don't often like to throw the tonality in there straight away, but you know what? I've changed my mind. I think that sounds really nice. Okay, let's get to this section here. That sounds so nice. You know, I'm not working complicated chord sequences. I'm not doing anything snazzy except for the snazzy curve on the automation. I still think that's quite cool. So let's pad this out a little bit more. So I'm writing for the orchestra here. I've got my strings and I've got my brass spread around the back. At the moment, I've got my lows, which are tuba and trombone, and I've got my mids, which are horns, essentially. At the moment, my horns are only doing the root note, which doesn't sound that interesting. So let's double them up so that they're actually playing thirds as well. So they're mimicking the cellos and violas. Yeah, okay. Change my mind again. I'm going to start that on the second run of the chord sequence, because I want to leave room to grow. You know, quite a common mistake composers make is not leaving enough room to grow in a lot of senses, i.e. in this sense, harmonically, not enough space to breathe. Okay, I'm going to step up to fifths. And it's going to start to really feel like it's padding out. Okay, so the trap I'm falling into is that they're all moving in the same way with the same chord voicings, which, you know, it's okay, it sounds cool, but I want to add a little bit more flavour to it, especially from bar 9, because at the moment it's just like meh, 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 which is cool, but I want it to be something different. So the wonderful thing about this chord sequence and why it's so fantastic for trailers and dramatic sensing of building and hope and things is because you can have an ascending melody line. Let me show you what I mean. Let's take these, move these up to the brass, up to the horns here. So at the moment it's, I remember my chord sequence, D minor, C, B flat, C. So I can go D, which, can I go up? Yeah. Let's start this an octave lower. See what it sounds like. And then, remember, I'll kick it off here. Then I'm going to step up. This is a melody I'm treating here. I'm thinking melodically. To the 3rd of C, up to the 5th of B flat, up to the 5th of C, and hello, I'm on the 5th of D. And then this is where it gets a little bit tricky. You know, do you have a dominant chord there? We'll see what it sounds like. And then here we go, another flat 7th degree. And then for the C, you've got your 9th there. This is it gets a little bit not so obviously stepwise here. So I could go, where am I? I've got my D. I could drop down there for the C. And then there I could do the 7th degree. Oh yeah, because it was a 9th up there. And then there would be, that would be my dominant C. So I've got my 5th. Still my 5th. And then 7th. To make it a dominant there. Sounds a bit messy. Just have a listen again up here. Nice. Okay, I actually really like that, but it's not the right place to throw those in yet. That's the final third when I throw in those 7ths, specifically that dominant C. Delete U, copy and paste U. Yep, okay, copy and paste U as well, and I'm now going to move U out of the horns. I don't want them in the horns, I want them to be the first violins. There we go. Copy and paste those into the low brass of the east-west. Ignore that. Cool, it's starting to get a lot of weight. Okay, let's duplicate this Alicia Keys instrument here. I'm going to copy and paste and glue these together because I actually want the impact of the low chords in the piano here. So I'm going to mute these. Just to pad it out, let's have a listen later. Okay, there we go. So what I can do from here is obviously I can do exactly what I've done, which is copy and paste those chords. And when it comes to the modulation, which is the swells, I would ramp these up more and more so that by the time we get to, so let's just copy and paste it here. By the time we get to this section here, I'm going to ramp up the swells to 127 because imagine this is my third act. Imagine it's my third, because I'm not going to put this in my third act. It's a slightly different chord sequence, if I recall correctly. And let's just have these playing parallel fifths, just for the sake of it. And then, you know, at that point you could start to really hear how the extra velocities are really adding more punch and weight. Just for the sake of hearing it, just so we can get a sense of how I would develop it into the third, because I'm not going to keep going on until I finish this cue. I just want to give you guys an idea of how I would flesh out a piano cue, which is I would take the chords and I would pad them out into the strings and see how I'm going with it. Okay, so you can hear the rasp of the tubas are too much. Not tubas, trombones. The rasp of the bones is too much. So let's just... So you can hear with the rasp of the trombones, I'd probably ease them back a little bit in the mix and maybe use the volume automation within the channel so that the rasp, when it swelled up, was more present, and when we were coming in with the entrance notes and the diminishing volume, I'd make it a little less obvious. But that's how I would flesh out a cue using strings and brass, and it's an incredibly effective way of just taking a simple idea and immediately making it feel cinematic. So what I would like you guys to do now is to write a chord sequence. Obviously I didn't have a melody going on there. Very simple chord sequence. Do what I've done, which is take it from the piano, spread it into your brass, spread it into your strings. Think about the note placements and how the chords are moving, and then play around with the modulation and let it grow and build in weight and scale, and you'd be amazed as to how a simple idea can sound very, very effective that way. Right, so if you like the video, click like, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos and stuff on writing for trailer music. And obviously, if you're really interested in writing for trailer music, you can go on over to the Trailer Music School and sign up to one of my courses, or even become a VIP and get monthly group calls with me. Thanks, guys.